The Without Fear of Her Future podcast is for women who are passionately pursuing financial freedom through investing in real estate. We are here to empower you to be brave, dream big, and design a life you love. I'm your co-host, Tresa Todd, founder of the Women's Real Estate Investors Network and author of the book, Without Fear of Her Future.
And I'm Melissa Baker, real estate investor and fitness coach specializing in turning properties from drab to fab. I'm here to help motivate and inspire you to build your dream life because, girl, you deserve it. Hello, beautiful. Welcome back to the Without Fear of Her Future podcast. We are so glad to have you joining us today as we step into a powerful yet very practical part of our Christian walk, serving others. And I'm not just talking about serving others, but serving with a true heart of Christ, whether it's in your church, your neighborhood community, your workplace, or even your own home. God has called us to serve, but serving isn't just about doing good things. It's about giving to others and meeting them right where they are, the same way God meets us right where we are. We are called to be the hands and feet of Jesus.
Yes.
So let me ask you something, Tresa.
Okay.
When you hear the word serve, what comes to mind?
Woo, a lot of things. Maybe it is volunteering at church, helping a neighbor, lending a hand to someone in need. But biblical service, true spirit-led service goes even deeper. It's not just about what we do, but really how we live. Do we live a life of servitude, about becoming a reflection of Jesus in a world that desperately needs him?
Yeah, and there's no better time than right now.
Oh,
right?
my goodness. Isn't that the truth?
So many things going on in our world. We definitely need the servants right now.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus made it clear in Mark 10:45 when he said, "For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve,
Yes.
to give his life as a ransom for many." Pause and let that sink in for a minute. The Savior of the world, the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, He's not demanding honor or attention. He came with a towel over his arm, washing the disciples' feet, healing the broken, feeding the hungry, sitting with the rejected. He made himself a servant. So what does that mean for us?
Wow. It means
Man.
that we don't serve for recognition or applause.
Yeah.
We serve because it is the heartbeat of Jesus. And he set the example for us. Every time we serve someone, we're not just doing a task. We are literally becoming the hands and feet of Christ, no matter how big or small it is. It's holy work.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Absolutely it is.
Can I tell a story?
Yeah.
I just came back from a trip where I was driving my granddaughter in North Carolina to her orientation, and I had a flat tire. We were going along, just really it's beautiful. North Carolina is beautiful, and we were going from the Wrightsville area over to High Point near Greensboro, and beautiful drive. But I mean, it's just. It was literally 3 hours of just being, out on the roads with hardly anything. And we had this flat tire. And so we made it, thankfully. We barely made it into a truck stop.
Okay.
And so we're sitting there, and I am on the phone with roadside service and trying to figure out what we're going to do. And they're telling us it's going to be at least 90 minutes before we can, they can send somebody out there to help us and all that. And about that time, while I'm having that conversation with them, a gentleman knocks on our window and says, "Hey, I see you have a flat." And he said, "Would you like me to fix it?" I was like, "No, that's okay. That's okay." And he goes, "No, I'd love to fix it." So long story short is the nicest guy ever, just fixes our flat in less than 20 minutes.
Oh.
I mean, we were completely, from the time we pulled over to the time we got back on the road, was about 30 minutes.
Wow.
And so he was so pleasant. And so I stood out, talking to him and learned a little bit about, he was running like he was going to be late to work and I was like, "Are you sure you can do this?" He's like, "Yes." He said, I want to do it. I want to do it. And it required this to get the spare tire off. It required this star wrench. And so he said, "Well, do you happen to have it in your car?" And I was like, "Well, this is a rental car," because we had flown into Wrightsville. We were driving to Greensboro. And so my granddaughter and I are looking in the glove compartment and every little area. We can't find it. And he said, "Well," and he's got a big truck. He said, "Let me just see if I happen to have one." And so, sure enough, he has the
Of
exact
course.
wrench, that he needed. He got it off, and I had ran into the truck stop to get cash because I was like, I want to pay him, and I wanted to pay him very well. I was so grateful. I mean, he
Right.
saved us so much time, and he was just such a nice guy. Told him we were from Texas, and he was like, "Oh, did you know anybody in those floods?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "Well, my wife and I've been praying every night for Texas." And I was like,
Oh,
"That is just
that's
so
really sweet.
sweet." And he had such what we're talking about, a heart
Servant's
for
heart.
servitude. And
Yes.
so then when he was all done and I tried to pay him, he absolutely would not take my money. And I was like, "Please take that. You're going to be late to work. He said, "Nope." He said, you just pay it forward. You do something nice for somebody else." And he said, "God's going to bless me for taking care of you. And it's going to be way more than any amount of money you could give me."
Oh,
It's like, that is so cool.
yes.
So
Yes.
cool.
If everyone could just understand that
I
kind of concept,
know.
that's amazing.
And my granddaughter and I got back in the car and we were just praising God that, first of all, that we made it to the truck
Yeah.
stop, that somebody came along. I mean, so that's part of it. I think sometimes we don't realize what a blessing that we are to somebody when we
Yeah.
take the time to truly give and serve.
Well, and there's opportunities to serve all around us. It doesn't have to be something planned out or something.
That's right.
Sometimes we really overthink things,
Hmm.
or we want something big and flashy, a stage or big
Yeah.
breakthrough to feel like we're doing something that matters. But in that moment, that
Yes.
gentleman helping you, that really mattered to you because first of all, you were somewhere safe. He was
Uh-huh.
able to help you quickly. You didn't have to, wait the hour and a half
Yes.
for help to come. So thank God for him. And what a beautiful servant's heart.
Yep.
Um, it's not always going to be big and flashy. It's just got to be.
It is. I remember probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago now, maybe 4 years ago. This was the first time this ever happened. I'm going through Starbucks. I'm a little addicted to that, shamefully. But I'm getting my iced tea, and when I get up there to pay for it, the car in front of me had paid for my
Oh,
Starbucks, and that little thing just lit me up. I
it's
mean, I
yeah.
can afford my own Starbucks, but the fact that someone else
I
would take the time to do that, it was I remember that it changed my whole day. And
mm-hmm.
then of course I paid it forward. I'm like, "Oh, well,
Again,
I'll pay for the car behind me." And you just hope that that goes on and on and on. And
yeah.
so now I'm horrible at remembering it. I don't do it as much as I would like to because I just simply forget. I
Mm-hmm.
need to work on my servitude heart.
Yeah.
But if I think about it, I love to pay for the car behind me, and then I usually always I look up to see who I'm paying for,
Yeah.
and I love to pray for them. Lord, just bless
Yes.
them. I don't know what they're going through, but yeah. So
I
just the
love
little
that.
things that
Yeah.
we can do.
It is. It is. Galatians 5:13 tells us through love we are to serve one another. So serving others is one of the purest ways to live out the gospel, to share Christ with others. And the beautiful part is that when you serve, you don't just bless others, but you get to grow too. And your
Yes.
heart softens and your perspective widens. You begin to see people the way God sees them.
Yes, yes. Well, Melissa, you have a true servant's heart. I mean, I see that every single day, and it's just so automatic for you. I mean, I'm going to be honest, I have to work on having a servant's heart. I really do. And I'm so aggravated at myself when I see, other people, it's just natural. And I'm always like, oh, maybe there's somebody that needs a seat. And I don't even recognize it until I see somebody else, help them find a seat. I'm like, why didn't I do that? But you are a true servant. So this is a great, a great conversation for us to be having because you have just been such a blessing to me as a friend, and you do so many things. I mean, if I'm sick, you're doing, I'm like, are you feeling better?
Well,
But you are actually the one that's going to bring the soup or bring medicine or whatever it takes. And so I love that.
we've had this conversation before because you're right. And again, it's a difference in how God created each of us. But you've said in the past that if you need somebody, you'll get it done, but you'll pay somebody to do it. But I think it's really
If
it's
somebody
worth.
needs their house cleaned when they're sick, I'm going to send my housekeeper over
You're
there.
not gonna go clean
You're
it?
going to come and clean my house.
Okay.
That's the difference between the two of
That
us.
is. But
Shamefully.
here's what I want to point out is that some people have the time to serve while they don't have money to give. And sometimes people only have money to give. They don't have the time to serve. But I think both are equally important.
Absolutely.
You know? So what I do is no more greater than what you're able to do and vice versa. It's the way that they work together and the way that God uses kind of our gifts and talents and our blessings, that He's given us to help and serve others, whether it's our time or our money.
Yeah, I do
Gifts and
agree.
talents.
I agree. And I agree with what you were saying earlier that serving is truly a gift on both sides.
Yes.
It is a blessing to the person who's receiving it, just like that gentleman that changed my flat. That was such a blessing. But I could tell that he's walking away feeling blessed too because he knew that he took the time out of his day to serve. He's going to be late for work. And and I do believe exactly what he said. God is going to bless him for that.
Well, and that's the servant heart is kind of about the obedience of Christ and hearing Christ, because I'm pretty sure He didn't look at your tire and go, "Oh boy, I wanted to change a tire so bad today. I wanted to be late for work." You know?
So
The Lord laid it on His heart, and
Yes.
He listened and He
Yes.
obeyed, and He will be rewarded for that.
Absolutely.
That's how God works.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that we have to look for places to serve. I think sometimes you're going to come up on a situation
Yeah.
like that. But I also do think that we have to look for places to serve. I know you are just, started a new church and you jumped right in and you're serving there.
I did. That was something on my heart. It's like you were talking about me having that servants, being able to go and do. And I do have some time on my hands. My kids are grown. I'm an empty nester now. And so I do have a little more time. And I had been in a season where I didn't have the time to give. And I really wasn't at a church where I was able to easily get involved and do things, which was really, I felt that.
You were missing that.
I was. And God was definitely nudging me to move on, that He had another place for me. And it took me a little while to find it. But the church where I'm at now, I did jump in. And I knew that, first of all, I wanted to meet people in the church and get connected with some of the women in the church. But I truly wanted a place where I could serve. I feel like there's an emptiness there, just kind of that needs to be filled by giving to others. I feel so blessed in so many ways, and you just want to give what you have to others.
That's right. And I know just by doing that, you've met people, you've already taught a Bible study, you've filled in for somebody. And so that's beautiful. I love it.
Loved it. Let's talk a little bit about a few simple yet powerful ways to serve, because it's like you said, it's not always obvious. But you've got to serve where you are, and you don't have to have a huge platform. You just have to have a willing heart.
Yes.
So maybe it's a meal to someone. And when there's a meals needed, when someone has a baby and they sign up for the meal train, I am not cooking a meal. The kitchen is
Nobody
not
wants a meal that I serve.
the kitchen is not my happy place
Me
unless
neither.
I'm making a cup of coffee. So I'll go buy a meal. So there's there's that example turned around the other way. I'm going to go buy a meal and deliver it.
That's right.
But
The
maybe
gift
it's
card too.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe it's something like that. Maybe it's just somebody needs to be prayed over. They need a ride somewhere.
Yeah.
Or just simply showing up for someone in need, just to sit with someone and listen.
And you know what I think we need to remember is those are signs from God that person is loved.
Yeah.
When somebody just comes along and does something for you, I think that it makes the person feel so loved, so special, and it reminds them that God sees me. God sent that person to bless me.
Yeah.
And so I think that we need to be so more aware of how we can be a blessing at every turn.
Because there are so many ways, and it can be in your church or at home with your family, certain ways there, in your community. There's a lot of ways to serve, or just praying for God to direct you where you are. Lord, help me to see things the way you do. Give me the eyes of Christ to see the people in need. I think, how often do we walk by somebody who's truly in need and we just don't even think twice about it?
Oh my goodness. I agree. I
So
agree.
I remember I was at the grocery store. This was just a couple months ago. And I had run in for just a few things and came back out, and there was this sweet little lady unloading some stuff, but she had a couple of heavy, I think it was a case of water in her little cart. And she was by herself, and so I went over and said, "Can I help you?" She said, "Oh, please, thank you so much." And I
Aw.
put the case of water in her car, and she looked at me and she says, "You know the Lord, don't you?" And I was like,
Aw.
"Oh." I just was like, just the fact that's sometimes how we're recognized. And I love that she was able to see that made me feel so good. It was
Yes.
something so small I had done. It took me, less than 10 seconds to put the
Yeah.
water in the car for her, but it was
Yeah.
big for
A
her.
blessing to
And it was a
her.
blessing.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. So I think that it's so easy to serve where we are.
Yep.
Just pay attention, just like you're saying. Obviously, you can serve in your home. Being a servant to those that are closest to us. That's the easiest. But serving in your church or even in your job, your community, that's our mission field.
Yep.
That is our mission field. We don't have to go across the world to make a difference. Now, you may be called
Yeah.
to that, but you may not be. And serve without, I think the key is really serving without expecting anything in return.
Yes.
Anything in return. Sometimes we get our little feelings hurt when we do something for somebody and they're like, they didn't even say thank you or they didn't really appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's not what it's about. God
No.
saw it.
Yeah.
God saw it. And that's real love. And that's where God does his deepest work. And again, both people, the serve and the
servant.
served and the server.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's like that gentleman said to you that his reward would come. He
Uh-huh.
would. And I remember as you were telling that story, I remember when I was young, I was with my mom and we were traveling when I was about 7 or 8 years old. We had moved from Lubbock to Ruidoso, New Mexico. And I remember on one of those trips, I don't remember if we got a flat tire or ran out of gas. We had car trouble, maybe something else. I don't know. I was
Yeah.
too young to understand car issues, but there was some reason we were pulled over on the side of the road and it wasn't to go to the bathroom. But I remember a gentleman stopping, and my sister and I were with my mom. My dad was already, where we were going. And so he helped us. And my mom was so, so grateful and asked, can I pay you? Can I do? And he said, absolutely not. He said, I just pray that if my wife were on the highway and ran into a problem, that someone would stop and help her. So
Wow. And you remember that
I
part of the
remember
story.
that. I
That's
remember that.
awesome.
That made an impression on me as a
Yeah.
child.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think you just have to pay attention. How can you serve donating clothes? Now, that is one thing that I love to do is when I'll go through my closets and I will, find a place to
Yeah.
donate my clothes. I've done that forever. But yeah, I know for me, I definitely, I think I served more when I was younger. I know like when my kids were little, I started serving and teaching like the little toddlers, the little
Yeah.
3 and 4 year olds, and I loved it. Oh my goodness, it was so fun to be with those little kids. The things they
Oh, yeah.
say,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're so cute, and they love you. I used to hold them in my lap, and they always wanted to wear my jewelry and all that. And I did that. Well, starting when my oldest son was that age, and then my middle son came along, and then my youngest son. So I probably did that for maybe 6 years. And then as they got older, I remember serving with them when they were in middle school, with the youth, and how, because they're always needing chaperones, they're always needing something, but expect and having things at my house for all the kids. But how blessed I was
Yeah.
in that.
I don't know that people realize what it takes. Some of these events and things that they go to. I was just thinking about like at church, if you're at a traditional church that has the pews, that's one thing. But a lot of churches nowadays are in auditoriums where they have to set up the chairs. I know ours are.
Yeah.
They set up the chairs and they use the facility, the room for different
Yeah.
things throughout the week. And, there's volunteers, people that are willing to serve the church that go in and set up those chairs. There's people that go in and set up the audiovisual stuff to get
Yeah.
everything ready for the worship time on Sunday morning. There's, the people, I know the worship team, although they probably absolutely love what they do, but that still takes time. And
Most of them are not getting paid for
they're
that.
not getting paid. Yeah, they're volunteers. They're serving their church. So there's so many ways, and maybe you're not, connected with a church. There's local food pantries. There's shelters, even your animal rescues or animal shelters
Yes.
that need, local charities that need help and need donations, even donating your time, your money, your goods and services, whatever you can do. So
Yeah.
many ways, so many ways.
I know. Again, you've mentioned this. I don't have a lot of extra time. And I do a Bible study. I
Yeah,
think that's a little bit of form of serving, but
absolutely.
um, I love to give, and I am very particular about that because as I'm reading scripture, it says to take care of the orphans,
Hmm.
and the
The
widows.
widows, yeah.
And so I will look for a place. I have a specific place where I'm taking, where I am sending a monthly check that takes care of kids that are in foster care because that's how I can
Yeah.
take care, Um, we have a friend that has a sober living house, and I just recently told her, hey, I just want to give on a
Mhm.
monthly basis to help take care of these ladies that you're
Yeah.
helping get. So just looking, what are you? I always want to be obedient to the Word of God, and it
Right.
talks about taking care of those that are less fortunate. And if we are blessed, maybe you're like me, you don't have a lot of time to go and serve. I
Hmm.
think we all can. I think sometimes
Yeah.
God wants us to get our hands dirty and
Yep.
really serve. But maybe you're not, in a place where you can do that a lot, but you can maybe write a check
Yeah.
and help somebody, and sometimes that's a lifesaver to them.
It is, and it kind of, I want to say, kind of what comes around goes around kind of thing. I remember when I was a young single mom, there was a Christian day camp that was going to be going on at our church,
Hmm.
and I really wanted the girls to go to it. But it's not cheap to send your
Yeah.
kid to camp, and I really, wanted them there. And I remember they had talked about there's some scholarships available, and because I was a single mom and I
Hmm.
really didn't have much, I was so blessed, and my girls were, they didn't understand it, but I did. They both got scholarship that first
Yeah.
year, and it didn't cost me anything but, what it would cost me to send them with a little lunch and a snack every day to
Uh-huh.
take them to this camp, and it was just a day camp. Well, you fast forward a few years, they actually went to that camp out in East Texas throughout their middle school and high school years, and they were scholarshiped for a year or two. And by then, I had a little more money, was
Uh-huh.
able to pay. But I love being able now to scholarship young
Somebody
kids.
else.
Yeah, because I
Oh,
remember what it was
I
like
love
when I
that.
didn't have, and the Lord has blessed me a way that I'm able to give a little bit of that to
Hmm.
scholarship some kids for the camp
I
now.
love
So
that.
it's,
Yeah. Yeah.
you go through the seasons where
That's right.
you want to help because
Sometimes you're the receiver and sometimes you're the giver.
absolutely,
That's right.
absolutely. That's
Yeah.
right.
That just so reminded me of a story when I was 10 years old. At my church, they were talking about the church camp that was, coming up, and oh, I wanted to go so bad. And I remember just, asking my mama after church, Mama, can I go to camp? Can I go to camp? And, you know, I think back about it, and she was where you are. She was where you were. And
Yeah.
she said, well, she said, Teresa, if there's any way that I can afford it, you can go. And I remember praying, oh, Lord, please make a way for me to go to church camp. And somebody scholarshiped me.
Oh,
And I was able to go. And, that was a life changing camp. I'll never forget it to this day. But yeah, that's awesome. Thank you
well,
for just reminding me of that.
yeah.
And Lord, I just, bless the people that will
Mm-hmm.
take the time to,
Yes.
again, give with their
And
hands and their feet, their time,
yeah.
or with their finances.
And it starts when they're young for the moms listening that have young kids.
Mm-hmm.
I also remember when I was really young, our church had a program where they kind of matched an elderly person with a child, like a little adopted grandma
Uh
or
huh.
grandpa. And I remember my little grandma,
Oh,
and my mom would take me over. And I mean, as a child, I was learning, that was teaching me how to serve because I was
yeah.
going to spend time and to help her, whatever her need was. And I was probably, I don't know, 10 or 11 at the time.
Uh
But I just, and I probably didn't want to do it at the time because I had other things to do. But I remember going and spending time with this sweet little old lady. And I know it just made her day,
huh. Uh huh.
but that was those stepping stones, I guess, of
Yeah.
teaching your children. So I want to encourage any of the mamas listening to, they're not too
Mm-hmm.
young to start serving. And there's so many things that we can do. If you know someone who is in need, deliver their groceries, have something
That's right.
delivered to them, visiting someone in a hospital or nursing home,
Mm-hmm.
organize a work day in your neighborhood. I mean, there's so many ways to give back in our
Absolutely.
communities. So
Yes,
many
there
ways.
is. Volunteering in any way, just praying over people,
Yes.
is so powerful. I mean, everybody needs that, and I think everybody appreciates that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Yeah.
whatever the need, there's a calling to
That's
show the
right.
love of Jesus. What is it? Galatians 5:13 says, "Serve one another humbly in love."
Yes.
Humbly in love. So when Jesus walked on the earth, he met people in their darkest hours,
Yes.
in their mess, in their pain, in their need. I love some of the stories. The woman at the well, he met her in her shame. He touched the leper while everybody else would avoid, right?
Yeah.
Zacchaeus, you wouldn't think of that as service. Like he saw Zacchaeus, and basically he invited him to his house for dinner. Like, hey, Zacchaeus, you're going to cook me dinner. But that touched Zacchaeus. He was noticed, and for
That's
something good,
right.
the Lord actually saw him. You know.
Yes. Well, serving is not just something that we do. It's part of who we are in Christ, and we're called to serve. And when we say yes to be his hands and feet and become a part of something bigger than ourselves and getting out of ourselves, we help carry his love into places where it's needed most. So, we want to challenge you and even myself that this week to look for at least one person to serve. Just and we can even ask God, open our eyes to the needs around
Yes.
us. And then when he shows us that we have to get uncomfortable or take enough time and energy when it's inconvenient and
Yep.
say yes and go and do the thing.
Yes, yes. I love that challenge. That's a good one. As we close today's episode, I want to leave you with this reminder. Serving isn't just something we do, it's who we're called to be. Jesus didn't serve out of obligation, he served out of love. And when we follow his example, we step into a life of deeper purpose, connection, and impact for the kingdom. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment or a big opportunity. Just be faithful in what's right in front of you. Your simple yes, your quiet act of kindness can truly change someone's life and draw them closer to Christ. So go out and serve someone, love someone, listen, help, give. Let your life be a reflection of the one who came to serve us all. We bless you today. Be brave and dream big. Listeners, if you're aiming for financial freedom, dreaming of designing a life you absolutely love, or just curious about how real estate can transform your future, you're in the right place.
Yes, ladies, if that sounds like what you want, our masterclass is the key. It's easy to understand, super straightforward, and packed with all the secrets you need to start investing in real estate confidently and successfully. Why wait to build your dream future? Join us and let us make your dreams a stunning reality.
Just click the masterclass link in the notes below.
And we can't wait to begin this journey with you.